and welcome to another episode of Agentforce NOW Code Live. We have an amazing guest today. I'll get to the introductions, but let me remind you this is Code Live, so you do have access to chat. So please feel free to use those chat, whether you are tuning in on LinkedIn or YouTube. Make use of that chat and let us know if you have any questions about anything that we cover today. We'll take them as we see fit. And today's topic is refining and improving agents with agent optimization. This is definitely one of my favorite topics. I'm really excited to have our guest today. Again, my name is Mohit, and without further ado, let's get to the introduction for our guest today. Jag?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jag. I'm a senior forward deployed engineer at Salesforce. I've been with the Salesforce for the past 4 years. I'm very much looking forward to share about STDM today.
Awesome, awesome. And for those of you who do not know Jag, I came to know about all the work that Jag is doing with his open source work, SF Skills. If you haven't checked it out, Jag, maybe if you want to share this, the open source work that you're doing, creating skills for all these developers. So if you are, looking to learn about creating skills, I think Jag's open source is true inspiration. With that out of our way, what I want to do now is cover some of the basics here and really focus on the area that we want to talk about. So let me bring back the slides, and then we'll cover some content today. And before I cover the content, remember that we are Salesforce employees and we have access to product teams, so we might make some forward looking statements. Please do not make your purchasing decisions based on them. So with that out of our way, I just wanted to remind everyone about agent development lifecycle. Now, we are all familiar with software development lifecycle. I would say agent development lifecycle is more or less same, but there are interesting aspects of it. For example, the observability and optimization that we'll cover in this episode is very key to actually scaling your agent and taking your agent from prototype to the production. So here are 5 stages of agent development lifecycle. Of course, we are not going to cover the step 1 to step 4 today. There are other content out there. You can actually check out them on our Salesforce Developers YouTube channel. And we will definitely create more content around testing, evaluation, deployments, and all these topics. But today we want to focus on this step 5, which is observe, and how do we optimize and refine our agents today. So for all of you, right, today we are going to cover this observability aspect. And we have wonderful toolbox available within our Agentforce builder that Jag is going to walk us through. With that, without further ado, how about, Jag, we start with a demo, and from there we will sort of uh, cover the back end aspect and the infrastructure that we have here at Salesforce for agent observability and the optimization.
Okay.
All right, let me bring your slides, Jack. Sorry, not your slides, the your screens. Here we go.
Awesome. Just on a high level from the STDM. STDM stands for Session Tracing Data Model. The way one way to think about this is essentially your agent's flight recorder. So everything is recorded and organized as part of the STDM data model. So it basically lives in the data cloud, data 360, and a single session can have multiple utterances, and it would end up generating a lot of records as part of it. So before STDM, you could see it's really hard to trace, like, what was the topic which was selected, what was the action. You'd be able to see all this information as part of the development. As part, when you go to the builder, you'll be able to see the entire trace API details as part of different timelines. But what if you want to have an understanding of all the um, historical conversations? And if you want to do that, like STDM is the place to come back and take a look at the historical conversations and what topics were selected, what actions were selected, and what was failed, and why it failed. So all of this information are properly stored, and all of these objects are highly normalized. And we will go and walk them through and what those objects and how it is structured. And then I want to tie it all back to a very simplistic example and how these informations are getting generated behind the scenes.
Perfect, perfect. And just for all of you, right? What I think we said STDM. It's session tracing data model, and this data model is out of box data model that gets available for all of you. Where as Jack was mentioning, like every time you do some agent interactions or your production agents are sort of working, everything that happens is traced and observed, and these are the data model to store, and these data model objects are available in data cloud, and they become available as soon as you turn that feature. Now I will go through the setup at the end, and show you like how to turn it on in your developer edition arcs. But Jack just covered the data model that sits behind this, and maybe Jack, once we actually go through the demo, we
Yeah.
can actually deep dive into this.
Okay. Um, okay. So for the objects here, there are three different objects you're really looking for.
Uh-huh.
The first one is the AI agent session, and these are generated once per conversation. And once you have a session, each and every session can have multiple interactions, and that's what we call as turns.
Hmm.
And each and every turn generates multiple steps.
Right.
Um, and I was able to put together some really important fields which you would be which you want to be aware of when you're writing your own custom STDM queries. The first one being like the agent session end types. If it's whether a particular session is completed, or is it escalated, or is it abandoned, or is it actually failed. So those are some of the values like you want to remember. And also the agent channel type. So when you're actually querying for a particular session, where did that, like at what channel was used for the particular session? And that could be voice, that could be builder, that could be embedded messages, and so forth. That's the key fields for the session. And then when you double click on it, you can take a look at the interactions, like basically one conversation turn, and that would be a list of like different interaction types, whether it is a turn or whether it is a session ends, and then you get like a start and end time for every single conversation turn. And
Hmm.
then finally, if you double click on a particular turn, then you get the most granular details, which are what we call as steps. And these steps for every turn can be, you can, the agent force or agent scripts can take multiple LLM steps or action steps, or topic steps, or it could also get interrupted. And what is the input values and output values, and what are the error messages we end up getting? All of this information gets stored inside the agent AI agent interaction step. So on a very high level, um, if you look at this from the top down, so the AI agent session is on the very top, and that is represents the entire conversation between the user and the agent. And then for every session, you would have one or two multiple turns. You can have one turn, or you can have multiple turns, and and each and every record represents a turn in the conversation. And when you double click on a turn, you get multiple steps. So for a particular turn, there are individual steps that are being taken by the agent, and the response are being generated. And that's what you would actually end up finding as part of the interaction step. I was able to put together sort of an illustration of how these all would look like together. So, for example, let's say that I'm actually querying a particular session. In this case, I'm going and querying on the AI agent session DMO object. If I query this, you're going to get something like this. So you're going to get something like a session ID, because it's always going to be one record for a particular session. So you're going to get one session ID, what's the start time, what's the end time could be, what is the corresponding messaging session associated for this particular session, and what is with the channel type and so forth. And from the session, if you double click, you would end up getting all the interactions for this particular session. So here in this example, you could see the session ID is constant. So you can see if there is 4 different session IDs, and for each and every the consistent session IDs, these session IDs are the same. And for each and for the consistent session ID, you have individual interaction IDs, and those represent a turn. And so when a user engages with the agent with an utterance, that could be considered a turn. And if the user engages with multiple utterances with the agents going back and forth, those are all considered as a turn. And so that's why you end up getting 4 different records as part of a single session ID. And further down, so if I now drill down into a single interaction under a particular session ID, you could see here this interaction ID remains the same, but the step ID here differs, and those are unique in nature. And for each and every step ID, you're going to now see is it an LLM step, or is it a topic step, or and then what type of action when we say it's an LLM step is going to be. And then you're actually are able to see the internal action names for each and every step. In our case, as an example, you could see the AI Copilot React topic prompt is an action name. That is an internal action name that has been taken. And then the product help is a custom topic that we created, and that is available as part of the topic step. And then the LLM step, the initial React prompt and the validation prompt, as an example, is also the different types of internal action names that you're able to see. So what this gives is a really rich set of data in terms of how you want to visualize the behavior of any agent. And all of this, once you turn this on, you'd be able to find these rich set of data for every single session, interaction, and steps.
Perfect.
Uh,
Perfect.
And here's a good sort of illustration on how to think about from the conversation standpoint. So as an example, and this is a very simple example where, let's say, a user says, my doorbell camera is offline. And what does this represent? This represents an interaction message record, and that is a different DMO object. But then if I go if I go back from the user to agent, my doorbell camera is offline, and if the agent responds, "Are you at home?" I want to help troubleshoot this, and that is considered as a single interaction. So it was hard for me to visualize like what is considered as an interaction, what is considered as an interaction message, what is considered as a moment, and what is represents a complete session, right? So this entire thing is a complete session. And then a single utterance is considered as an interaction message. When you combine this turn, the user and the agent together, that could be treated as an interaction. And then from there, if you look at the user agents multiple interaction, when you combine them together, that could be considered as moment one and moment two, because the moment one, it really focuses on, let's say, product help, and the moment two really focuses on, let's say, a payment, which could be a completely different topic. And so this is one way to visualize like the difference between an interaction message, the interactions, um, and then moment, as when you visualize these three different objects together.
So Jack, just a question here. When you say moments, I think this is like a new term for us.
Mhm.
Is it like topics? Is it branched by topics, or how do we decide that this is one moment?
Yeah, and that's a great question. There is another object called as the AI agent moment
Uh-huh.
DMO object.
Uh-huh.
And when we query that by the session ID, Salesforce automatically populates this information. So you're going to
Got it.
have different moment IDs and what API name it's part of, and what is the and you can think of this as a summarization, and Salesforce
Uh-huh.
performs the summarization. And the moments, one pro tip here is that the moments are not available immediately. It might take a couple of minutes to get populated for a particular session, because this job is done in a more asynchronous manner, because it needs to summarize all of this information. So that's what we can visualize this as moments.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. I think we have an understanding of the data model. From here, I know there are a lot of questions right now coming like, what should we do with this information now, right?
Yeah,
Can we report on them? How is this information being used to optimize the agent?
yeah. It's a great question. The part I would say is that Salesforce already provides a lot of out of the box tools. As you guys already know, that you could actually run reports on DMO objects. So
Hmm.
if you create a custom report type of all these three objects, and that's why this is really key for understanding the, because I want to go with really a simple set of objects first. If you can go and create a custom report type on AI agent session, interaction, and the step, then you would be able to reconstruct this particular trace like we have into a Salesforce report. And that's the beauty of being out of the box. You'd be able to do all of those things or information just by uh, just by point and click and no code. But if you want more powerful features, then you can always write some queries, and I should be able to show some examples in a moment.
Cool. All right. Let's move on, Jack.
Okay. So let me jump on now that we have sort of the basic understanding of the STDM. What is an STDM, and then understanding that like this is an historical like a flight recorder for agents. Um, I actually have two different examples to demonstrate. The first example being the agent version one, and the second example being the version two. Let me just quickly jump onto this agent and then walk through this particular agent to kind of help demonstrate like an how we can use the data and how to actually get some value out of the STDM data.
Yeah. Can you
Um,
zoom a bit? Can you zoom a little bit? There you go. That's perfect.
okay, it's good. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a simplistic agent where think of this as an employee agent where it can help you reset password. It can help you with software requests. You can also do general help, and you can say farewell. So I was trying to figure out the most simplistic agent script agent to demonstrate like the output what we get from the STDM. And obviously, this is a flawed agent, and I will explain that in a bit, because you can see from the instruction standpoint, we're just saying figure out what the user needs and route them to the right topic. Now, in this case, the LLMs are intelligent, and sometimes it will route to the right topic. But if you write really good instructions, it's just gonna it's just gonna be performant, and it won't have a stochastic behavior. So what we can do here is that I'm going to jump onto the agent builder in the preview. And you can see here, I ask, can you help me with MFA? I can redo this. So as an example, can you help me with an MFA? If I ask this, if I ask this example, if this is my utterance, you're gonna see that this is transitioning to the topic of general help. Obviously, we don't want this behavior because if I go to the agent definition, you want this MFA to be part of the password reset. And if you look at my password reset instructions, it says help the user reset their password, ask them when they need the password reset. But then MFA is also part of the password reset, and we want the agent to be also routing to the password reset. When we have the utterance, can you help me with MFA? And one way to sort of debug this and look at this, right? Right. Let's say that there is a historical set of conversations which are happening, and then you want to go to, and maybe you want to understand for this particular messaging session what really happened. I can go back here. So here in this example, I am just to step back here. This is the data cloud in the same org. What I've done is switch to the Data Cloud app and then logged into the query editor. And this query editor, within this query editor, you can actually write all of the custom queries. As you notice here, remember we discussed about the AI agent session DMO. So what I'm essentially trying to do is plug in the session ID, and you can get the session ID from here. You can copy the session ID and then paste the session ID here, and this information becomes immediately available. And when I ran this query, you can see there's a session ID available. When was the start time? And then you could see, oh, this is actually coming from the builder, and so you have this information. Now, once we have the session ID available, the next one is that we have to go and figure out what happened from the interaction standpoint. And the interaction here, what we gave is, can you help me with the MFA, right? And that is the interaction. And the interaction is a turn, and it basically you have an utterance, and then the agent responded, and that is considered as one single turn, and it is classified as a general help topic. Now we have an understanding from the interaction standpoint. Now let's drill down further, right? And that's and this information is part of the interaction. And then if I want to further drill into interactions, you could see here I actually need the interaction ID. And if I and this is the interaction ID we have. And if I run this query, now you end up getting 3 different records. So for this particular interaction ID, which are going to be consistent, these are the 3 different steps. And you could see there are different step types. And you have instruction utterance, you have the topic selector, and you have the general help. And you can tell clearly for this particular utterance that this has been classified as a general help. So this is giving us a clue in terms of for the given utterance like this, can you help me with MFA? It is always getting classified as general help. Now you may ask, Jack, I mean, I'm able to already see this information here. Yes, you are able to see this information here, but that's but when I move out of this particular builder, you are not able to get this information, right? So so this is an historical way to go and look at every single conversation, every single interaction, every single step, and then mass analyze for a given utterance, what are the topics and what are the actions historically has taken place, and then really get insights from these utterances and the corresponding actions and topics and the input and output JSON. So this kind of give you like a deep dive into the raw inputs and the output JSON, and then come back and then take a look and then go and refine your agents. So this is a second example where, let me reset the context. And before I go and redo the utterance, you can see here I've ended up adding a whole bunch of instructions and routing rules. And in the routing rules, I basically said, hey, I don't just need just the password. Like basically, I want the agent to route to a particular topic, not just for password, but if the users are basically asking for help about MFA or SSOs or anything related to authentication, I want the instructions. I want the agent scripts to route to the password reset topic. Now, this is unlike this is a traditional like a software development lifecycle. Some of the utterances we may not think we may not even have thought of as part of the agent's lifecycle, and sometimes you would only be able to understand in depth when you have an historical set of conversations and what has really happened. And you wanted to find those gaps by analyzing the session tracing data model because it's highly normalized, and you can go and look at is it working as per the agent design, and if it's not, what are the gaps, and just go and fill in the gaps. So in our case, we are now going back and rewriting the instructions to include the MFA. And now and now this particular and I'm purposely taking a very simplistic example to make a point. And now if I go back and um, create the same utterance, can you help me with MFA? Hopefully it should route to the password reset topic.
Yeah.
um,
Perfect,
yeah.
perfect. No, this is awesome. Actually, great a demo, and yeah, as I just want to reinforce the point that you just made. A lot of times, this is unlike traditional software development, right? Agent development, the iterations are pretty fast. That means, like the time to put the agent into production is very small. And I think it's important to understand as a lot of times your customers give you the better clues of what they are looking for. And when they are using an agent that's already there in the production, the faster you can pinpoint like which topics are they using, or which topic your agents is lacking, or which instructions your agents need, which actions or tools could make it effective. The faster you can pinpoint that and iterate upon, you will see the efficiency of the agent sort of going very high, and the agent sort of becoming very relevant. And this is very key point to understand. It's very different than traditional software lifecycle where you just deploy something and then you wait for the feedback, and then you have to go back to the drawing board to like sort of make all these changes, right? In agentic lifecycle, it's much more faster, because all you're doing is writing instructions and playing with evals and instructions here. So it's very important to have this framework in place, that is optimization and refine capabilities in place, so you can iterate it really quick and improve the efficiency of the agent here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so if you look at the version 2 of agent definition, so I've not only tweaked the instructions for the routing rules here, but I also gave some reasoning instructions, and also to help like basically expanding the password reset to say, okay, it not only handles password reset, but also the MFAs, the SSO problems, um, and also giving instruction what not to do, like software installation hardware issues, right? Like, and that could be, that's not something that password reset topic want to handle. And so this rapid iteration and rapid feedback, because the STDM you can turn it on in development orgs too. It's not just for production. If let's say if there are hundreds of utterances and hundreds of tests are happening, let's say in the UAT environment, you could actually go to the STDM and take a look in terms of you can mass analyze all of these different sessions and then come up with what are the utterances which are failing, and then use those utterances to go and look at the instructions, because what you really want to find is the stochastic behavior. Usually, when you try to do a unit test, if the agent is failing immediately and consistently, those are the type of issues that you're able to fix immediately, right? Like because you're able to do the unit tests and you're able to fix them. But there is a category of like issues where the agent behaves stochastically, meaning that it might pick up a particular topic 50% of the time, another 50% of the time it's going to go to a general help. So when you do that, you either want to go and refine your instructions, or and as part of agent scripts, and that's the beauty of agent scripts, that you wanted to go and create mutable variables and create a mutable state within the
Mhm.
instructions, and then maybe even go and run some deterministic logic, whether that's part of the before reasoning or after reasoning loop and so forth. So, and that is the iteration that you want to do with the help of these STDM data to improve the quality of your agent.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think we have some more interesting questions. Like for example, I don't know if we know about this, or you have any insight into it, Jag. Is it
Mhm.
available for agents built with old builder or just the new?
It's available both for old and new, because I've seen the STDM queries work for both of them.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and just a comment from Alice. Alice, thanks for joining. Alice is saying she's thinking about AI agent moment as semantic analytics layer, grouping moments by problem type and cross-checking which LLM step fails most often. Is that already like how advanced customers are using, or is this like an emerging pattern?
Are we talking specifically about moments or other
Moments.
schemas as well?
Moments. Yeah, I think that we are talking about AI moments here, the moments that we have. Do you see that being used by, customers in your day-to-day work? Um,
Yeah. The current customer I work for, they do use moments because moments gives you a really good summarization, right?
uh
And the problem with these objects, like the session AI agent sessions, the interaction and the interaction step, so as an example for this particular session, it ended up generating close to anywhere between 24 records to 50 records,
mm,
and sometimes that could be overwhelming. And
yeah.
moments is a fantastic object, DMO object, where it summarizes, and Salesforce does all the hard work for us. It summarizes everything, and then captures what moments are here. And so this is a really good use case for business users to really understand what agent, what was the version, and what was the moment, and the summarization as part of it.
Yeah, perfect. No, imagine like agent built with, you know, let's say 500 lines of agent script. I can imagine they will have at least 50, 60 steps in there, right? And then analyzing all of it at that scale becomes challenging. So that's why you need observability in your production before actually you go live. I would say this is like one of the mandatory steps, in my opinion, for successful implementations, is to have this feature, so it's easier to trace down. um, Also, the other thing that I wanted to ask you, Jag, was, so there are two aspects of this, right? So one is developers themselves building agent script and refining agent script as
Mhm.
they are sort of thinking through the agent design. And then there is the other aspect where, they've already built and packaged this agent and it's running in the production, and then the traces are helping. Can you just highlight, like, for the first part, that is when developers are building, there is much easier way for them, right, through the traces without having to actually go into this observability thing when they are quickly iterating and building it.
Exactly. Um, yeah, so that's an important distinction to have. I mean, you could basically let's take a preview here, right? As an
Yeah.
example, maybe the version 2 agent. Let's take a preview. Yeah, so you could see here, can you help me with the MFA?
Hmm.
And you're actually seeing this beautiful a trace.
Yeah.
And I the product team spent a lot of time figuring out an easier way for us to give us the most insightful information, also trying to make sure that this is summarized, right? um, I would say that trace information here while you're trying to build is actually 2 times richer compared to the STDM,
Hmm.
because this is getting into the level of details, which is kind of like unbelievable, right? Like, so you're gonna get what exists 10 different actions. What are the actions which are available? What are the attributes? And if I go to the code, and if you look at and I can go and take a look at this entire set of JSON payload, right?
Right. Right.
And these things are absolutely important to understand while you're iterating immediately. So this is what I would call this trace API, and this is powered by trace API, and this trace information is for immediate feedback loop.
Hmm.
Uh, what I would view STDM is almost like a batch intelligence.
Got
Over the course of time, let's say that there are 50 people testing agents as part of, let's say, UAT. Like, you go and give back, and we say, hey, the agent is complete by looking at analyzing this, and we are refining topics and definitions and reasoning instructions and everything else. So you absolutely would use this to actually have an immediate feedback loop, immediate oral signal for you to go and make the changes in the instructions. And then once you're come to a part where, okay, the agent, from the developer standpoint, agent has reached a maturity. Then you go, let's say you do an UAT testing, and there are
it.
100 people trying to test the particular agent. Now you're going to get, now for each and every session, the developer is not going to have access to this, right? Like, the
Got
only access you're going to have is the STDM, and
it.
you're
Hmm.
able to mass analyze. I can write a custom STDM query to say, show me all the utterances where that particular utterance got classified as a general, as a general help, as an example,
Got it.
right?
Got it.
And you know that, like, and you could actually have it take a look at this and say, oh, is it supposed to be part of general help, or is it supposed to be part of password reset? So that gives you an immediate signal for you to mass analyze and go back and try to fix the agent.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. Yeah. I think we can move on here.
Okay.
I will bring up any other questions, but for the moment we'll try to move on.
Okay. The other thing I do want to say, so let's go back here. I want to give a quick plug to this. So, and obviously, as part of this session, we want to keep this really simple, but there are a lot of advanced use cases with session tracing data model.
Hmm.
As an example, what we saw is an example of, like, okay, how to get information about a particular session. In fact, I don't even need to give the where clause, and you could see, and you can have a whole bunch of sessions being populated with the session ID. And then we talked about all the interactions associated to a particular session, and then all the steps associated with it. Now there is another powerful way that you'll be able to unlock the session tracing data model, is by something called as CTEs. Um, CTEs are nothing but common table expressions, or in short, they are nothing but subqueries.
Hmm.
And you could write a lot of subqueries to have a lot of custom way in how to analyze the STDM. Here in this case, as an example, you could see I'm saying with sessions. So it's this is a subquery I'm running for sessions,
Hmm.
and this is a query I'm running for turns,
Hmm.
and this is a subquery I'm running for steps. I'm combining all the things together instead of going each and every query, which you can do, which has its own benefits. I'm running all of these subqueries, sessions, turns, and steps. And then finally, I'm trying to write a query and then performing the joins with the interaction ID, right? And so you could so what this really means is that Salesforce supports these subqueries, and then you could run all of these subqueries. Like the session will run, the turns will run, the steps will run, these subqueries will run, and then finally the final the query will use all of the subquery results, and you can combine them, you could filter them. You have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to analyze the STDM data. And so what this one shows, as a simple example, what this one shows is a way to bring all of those three objects together. In the way I would relate this is like a relational fields in SOQL.
Hmm.
See how you can actually do a dot operator and bring back data from other SOQL objects. So similar to that, like you could run CTEs as part of the session tracing data model.
Got it, got it. So CTEs, I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing. What does CTE stand for?
CTE. So yeah, CTE really stands for the common table expression.
Common table.
Um, yeah, and it's important sort of like to kind of look through and how to run the subqueries effectively as part of the DMO objects.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Anything else, or Jag, you want me to explain to them? I think there are a lot of questions around how do we enable this in developer orgs.
Yeah,
So maybe we take that at this point.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So with that, right, let's actually bring in this question that I keep getting here on the LinkedIn, like how to enable these agent optimization features. So this feature is available in your developer edition org. So if you sign up for the developer edition org today, you will have it. Only thing, make sure that it has the data cloud enabled, because this feature actually requires data cloud. So you need the data cloud here. So as you can see, I do have the data cloud enabled. And once you have the data cloud enabled, very important thing to note is, like, sometimes you might have a data cloud package which might be older. So make sure your standard data model package that you have within your data cloud is greater than 1.128. So I have 130, two versions above the minimum, but you should have, like, for example, I know there are customers who might have still the older one. It will not work. You will need that newer package, because that is what has all the data model object definitions packaged. So you need that. And then, of course, I just want to remind everyone, you need to enable Einstein generative AI first, and then the other features. But within that Einstein, you will see this Einstein audit analytics and monitoring setup. So you click on that actually. And then if you see, there is that STDM feature, Agentforce session tracing feature, that you would definitely need to make sure that you enable it. Also remember that session tracing and optimizations are two different things. Session tracing will only capture, right? But you need to still identify gaps and use those gaps and get all that insights, like moments that we talked about. For that, you need the agent optimization enabled. So you have that choice to actually do. And once you have that, i want you to I want you to go and enable basically. There you go. We are back actually. The restream had some issues. Apologies on that technology. But here, if you look at what I wanted you to understand is, if you go to that new agent um, force builder, which you can use agent for studio app, one of the things you will see here is analytics, and that is our standard out of box analytics that comes out. Of course, first time you it will ask you to install some packages, But here you can see all the reporting. Like for example, you can go and look at like how many users were using the using your agent, the sessions, the stickiness, distribution by channel, the most used agents, topics, like which topics are being utilized, actions. So all the analytics out of the box is here. But this is more interesting is optimization dashboards that we have. So here in the optimization, you can click on insights. It does take some time actually to load. um, and I might also have some network issues here that might be causing some time to load, but you should see the number of sessions here. And because we have less data here, it's actually maybe the STDM has more data, the one that we just did. So there you go. So it does take some time to process. That's one thing to remember. And also when you turn on the feature, remember that it does take like 20-30 minutes for all the data model to get set up first time. So first time it is going to take some time for you to show up all these things. But once it's there, except for moments, I think most of them sync pretty quickly. And then we have sessions and intents where you can actually look at more dashboards. Again, it just takes some more time to load. But you can see there are some unprocessed sessions, and where you can actually go look at the session trace. So you can actually go back and in fact replay and look at all the session that actually happened here, and then sort of get to the trace logs and interaction summary and the traces right here within this UI. So again, set of features for you. um, so you, if you're more of a visual person and want to like click around and sort of analyze, everything is sort of built in here within this user interface of Agentforce builder. All right, so we are almost end here. Anything else you had, Jag, or we can take some questions here?
Yeah, yeah. One last point was that the dashboards which been built out of the box, like they
Mhm.
give such that they by themselves without writing any custom queries,
Right.
you're gonna end up getting a lot of data out of it. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna get a lot of insights out of it. The reason to showcase the custom queries is that there's always a pro code way to do the
Mhm.
same things like what do you find, but if you want flexibility and if you have a very unique use case where these dashboards doesn't fit, then that is a good reason for you to go and write some basic queries, or you can go really complex and write some CTE queries for you. So Salesforce provides both flexibility to for business users with like really good dashboards, and also for pro code with the custom queries.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I think there is one question here that's coming from Mayuresh. Mayuresh is asking, where did you get this query? I think the CET, the complex expression table query. Where did you get it from, and how can they sort of find that information? I think we have all of them in the docs. Correct me, Jag.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's directly in the documentation. It even explains about common table expressions like what a CTE is and how the subqueries work. Everything is really well documented as part of the Salesforce developer documentation. So
Yes.
perhaps we can find the link and send it Mahesh.
Yeah, yeah, Mayuresh. I will make sure that we send a link to the help docs. You can also Google just by saying agent optimization, and the docs are actually really neat on this. All right. I think we are almost towards the end. If anybody has any other questions, we'll hang around here for another couple of minutes. Just feel free to ask us any questions, or if you have anything else around Agent Force that you're working on and excited to share, please do share as well. Yeah, I'm looking at the queries, and yeah, I think there is one more that just came in. How can I use Agent Force to help me in Salesforce? So okay, I won't take this question. It's more around how Agentforce and Salesforce is sort of working out. So I'd skip that question. Anything else? If not, any parting thoughts, Jag? First of all, I just want to take some moment and thank Jag actually for, sort of running this show. Jag, everyone is asking your Lucid Chat link. They're just so fan of it. Is there a way we are going to share that, or
Yeah, I'm happy to. So maybe I'll create a brand new Lucid chart just to make sure that it can be publicly available. Happy to share that artifact. But I always want to say, keep the Salesforce document as the primary source of documentation, and this is
right?
always like a secondary one. So the source of truth is always going to be Salesforce documentation, but this is just a visualization I was able to put together. But happy to share that as well.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. So with that, Jag, I think we should be winding this one today. Again, I just want to remind everyone that this is one of those shows like Code Live Now. If you have any feedback about Agentforce Now, Code Live, please share it with me. I'm available on LinkedIn. And I look forward to other content. We have Ask Me Anything sessions and other workshops on Agentforce. So, please join us. And again, thank you so much for joining. And with that, we will see you on the next episode. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.